Hey everybody, welcome to this new session where we're going to develop what we did last week, which was the analog bass, where we created from scratch that squelchy sort of disco bass. Now, if you remember in the last lesson, I put some drums in as a guide. Well, I've taken those out now because we're going to create our own drum patterns around the bass line. And I've also re-recorded the bass. I originally did it in like a G minor 7. And what I've done is I've just taken off the glide on there, which was like the vibrato tremolo thing. Because I don't need it in this new pattern that I've done. I've done like a C bass line, which goes from C to F to G to B flat. It's like a C minor sort of bass. So I've changed the bass pattern basically. What I wanted you to do was to not exactly follow the bass pattern I did, but if you have done, that's great. But kind of come up with your own bass patterns and see what you can do. The demonstration of that was that you learnt how to use the synth and how to automate the glide and things like that. So I've re-recorded the bass, and what we're going to do this week is we're going to explore 3 key drum machines from that era. So we're creating initially and ultimately a new disco kind of boogie track using all of the built-in sounds from Ableton, just so that we can kind of know at the end of it what to use for the specific type of genre. So we're going to go for this boogie sort of funk sort of track, electro funk, and probably with new disco elements as well. And the key thing is to use the right sounds. Now, obviously in Ableton, there's a stack of drum machines. There's so many, we don't know where to go with them. So all these ones are, we could spend hours, if you've got the full suite, that is going through the whole of them. We're going to go through 3 core kits, combine those 3 core kits so that we create a track that sounds reminiscent of the era that we're looking at, which is basically the early to mid 80s. So all you need to do is go to drums, and in there we want to get an 808 core kit, which is built into all of Ableton. So drag one of those over, and that's your 808. And then you want to get the DMX core kit, which is the classic Oberheim drum machine, which is used on loads of early 80s records. And then you want to get the Lindrum core kit, like that, and put all those through onto a channel. Okay, and then the synth bass, which we did last week, I've changed it to this pattern. I've turned down my phaser feedback for now because I just want to keep it as round and as natural as possible. And I've taken off the vibrato as well, which was the glide sort of thing we had, where it bent the sound. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of combine those 3 drum kits and create an original sort of drum pattern. And these are the 3 core kits you need. You could use a 606 and a 707 as well, but I recommend that we just stick to these 3 sounds, these 3 drum kits, using specific sounds off here to make a drum pattern that works well together. And it will give you the key skills to go off and then create your own, patterns using these sounds to make that sound, etc. So here goes. So we've got the bass. What we need to do is get the DMX one, and we're going to create a pattern that goes a very simple sort of 1 kick, 2 snares and a snare and a clap together, and then 3 kicks, like that. I'm going to hit the metronome, take the loop off for a second, and then go. So let's go. There we go. A very simple pattern, and that's basically the kick, the snare, and the clap within the DMX core kit. Okay, and if we look at those there, look. Just get those in line. Some of them are going to be out of time, and they need to just come back. And that's it. There's your pattern. So if you look at that, you can see that we've just got, if I solo that, you go. So that's that. That's your drums there with the clap, the snare, and the bass drum from the DMX. So the thing is with the DMX, the hi-hat, we could use the hi-hat like this, look. But it's a little bit raw, it's a little bit rough. So the best way to get around that and to make it a bit cleaner is to use the 808 close hat. It's a lot cleaner, it's a lot sharper. Do you know what I mean? We'll use that, and then on top of that, we'll throw in the classic cowbell. So I'm going to hit record and press play. Like so. And what we'll do with that open hi-hat, we're going to shorten the decay to make it a lot sharper and shorter. So quantize those. And at the end, we'll put in the cowbell. So it's going to kind of create that sort of classic 80s sound. But first of all, let's go to the open hi-hat within the 808 and just turn the decay down so it's shorter, like so. Like that. Probably about 265. Just like that. Maybe a little bit more, maybe about 300. Just type in 300, see what happens. That's better. You don't want it to be too short, but try 310. It's nice, it's there. You don't want it to go to decay and just to roll over. It just sounds a bit muddy and it gets a bit airy. So on top of that, then it's going to press the overdub button, and at the end I'm going to record in those last few cowbells. So here goes. And there we are. I'm going to double click on that, and if you look in here, I've just recorded in those few cowbells, quantize them. And at that point, what we could do is we could grab those cowbells and bring them down to the 808 hand clap. And it just gives another little layer of like a different clap in there. So you've got them in there like that. So we've got a pretty solid beat. Put the bass on. Brilliant. What we want to do next is add in a bit of the Lindrum's shaker, sort of, so we get the this sound, and you'll see the pattern in a moment with this. So it goes like, so we make a shuffly sort of swingy sort of pattern. And here goes. I'm going to press record again on that, and here goes. Put the metronome on, and here goes. Very simple pattern, and once we've lowered the volume on it and the levels, it'll be, it'll all gel together nicely. So let's bring them all up like that, and then what we'll do is we'll just turn down the actual volumes on here. So let's find the tambourine, double click, just bring the level down to, bring it down to about 4, and the same for the cabassa. Same for the cabassa, bring the levels down. And there we go. If we just drop the volume slightly on here, and we should have a pretty cool sort of pattern there. But I'm going to show you a few of the tricks in a minute on what we can do to make this sound even beefier. So let's do a recap. We have got the DMX kick, snare and clap, the LD core, which is the Lindrum shakers and the cabassa, and then the hi-hats and the cowbell, and a bit of clap from the 808. But what we need to do is also have a different variation of patterns. So let's have a look at some of the different patterns. Imagine we've got the DMX core kit here. So what we need to do is kind of create an intro for our track as well. So we're going to go through the whole track eventually when we start to arrange it by the end of this sort of sessions that we've got. So if we leave on the LD core kit, and then in here, we're going to have like an intro clap sort of section, and then we're going to delay it, and then it'll sound really effective at that point. So let's just press record here like this lot. So here goes. And we're going to do a very different pattern there. So I'm just going to right click and change that yellow. Then we're going to highlight it and quantize it. Okay, don't worry about it being empty there because it's going to be filled out with musical elements at some point later on in the track. So what we need to do to make that effective for our intro is to put some delay on the claps. Now what we want to do is we want to put some delay on that clap only and not on the rest of the drum sounds. Now if you're not sure of this technique, it's really pretty cool. You can grab the delay and put it directly onto the hand clap panel here, look, and that will connect the delay to that only within the drum machine. Nothing else will be connected, which is great. And it saves you doing basically loads of different channels for each drum sound. We can EQ each drum sound within that panel. So it's really effective. So we'll grab the drum machine effects here, which is basically grabbing a delay onto that hand clap like this and changing to about 20% on each one. So change the feedback to 20 and that to 20 like that, okay? And then we'll change this later on. When it gets to here, we'll do a different rate. We'll go up to about 30 on that. So probably about 20, 30. Go to 35 on this, on the dry wet. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So let me play this, the intro with the delay at 20%. And then it goes up. Obviously the 808 cowbell's a little bit loud there, but we can change the volume of that later on. The idea is to just show you that we can put delays on each panel and we can combine 3 classic drum machines in order to create sort of a, you know, an 80s sounding track. So we've got the authenticity there with those delays now on those claps. And obviously when we start adding synth layers and stuff like that, you know, it gets a lot more detailed and sophisticated. So basically a quick recap, we've got the DMX core kit, we've got the LD core kit, the Lindrum core kit, and we've got the 808 core kit. And we've combined those 3 drum machines so that we now have the appropriate sounds for an early 80s funk track. So that's it for this session. If you want the MIDI patterns for this, they're in the link of the description below. You can grab them from here, save you doing it if you struggle with it. But I try and encourage you to create your own drum patterns and just make them as funky as possible, and put the delay on the clap alone. Make sure you put it on the panel, and that's really it really for this session. The other things that we can do later on with the drums when we go to remixing it and stuff is we can put some different sort of compressors on the kick and all that sort of thing. So we'll, you know, you could try that now yourself. You could go to the panel and you could put on a drum bus, for example, which would be in here. Grab a drum bus, stick that on your DMX kick and listen to that. So you click on there. That's without. So then on there you could turn up the drive slightly to 30. And it just makes you kick. Let's solo it. Let's solo it. Punchy. Without. So you could have it around about 20. You could put some boom on it. You know, if you wanted to get that kind of 808 thing, but you could do that with the 808 on here anyway, if you wanted to use that kick instead. But nevertheless, that's, you know, what another thing you could do to make your kick punchy. So that's it for this session. We've combined 3 classic drum machines. Any questions, just give me a shout and I'll help you. So start experimenting with those 3 drum kits and come up with some classic 80s sort of patterns. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week.